Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the As a Health webcast. I am so happy today to be joined by two amazing women on our first of the Health and Wealth series, a talk on financial wellness. I am joined this evening by Nany Conde. She is a physician associate and also a financial specialist. We also are joined by Dr. Ijeoma Muforo-Emuan. She is a clinical pharmacist as well as a financial specialist. So welcome, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Certainly, certainly. So, usually when I do my webcasts, I like to talk with different experts about different elements of health and wellness, from physical health, emotional health, mental health. But tonight's discussion is a little different. We are going to talk finances. And many of you who are watching tonight may wonder, why do we have medical professionals talking about finances? Why is financial wellness so important? So first and foremost, I want each of you to actually kind of introduce yourself to the audience, tell us a little bit about you. Also, why you came into the financial wellness field, I guess we could say, being that you're both in the healthcare field. So I'll start with you first, Nany, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for this platform. My name is Nany Conde. I am a physician assistant, physician associate. I work in the emergency department currently, but I have been a PA for about 12 years. I've worked in as a hospitalist PA and also ER PA. I've been in healthcare altogether for 18 years. And it is that experience, that background that actually led me to financial services. I've seen so many things I wish I could have prevented as far as financial planning or lack thereof. Financial stress is literally making people sick. I've had some personal experiences as well with family members due to lack of financial planning that really piqued my interest in educating myself more about financial issues and actually started a second career. I've been a financial professional for about 5 years. I'm a registered security analyst and also have insurance licenses in multiple states. And we do financial education and help people plan properly. So that's a little bit about me. My passion truly is financial education and health education. I also have a company called Health and Wealth with Nany, and I am trying to merge my two careers and do healthcare education and financial education. I found that healthcare illiteracy and financial illiteracy is really killing our community. And I am trying to do my part with my expertise in both fields to be able to contribute what I can to educate people and help with solutions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Ijeoma?
My path almost is kind of similar in the sense that we've both been in the healthcare field for 18 years. So that's kind of nice to know. I am, as you stated earlier, I'm a clinical pharmacist, been a pharmacist for 18 years now. And my specialties are in pediatrics and women's health. And one of the things that kind of just kind of almost similar to like Nany said, one of the things that kind of drove me into the finance business for several reasons, in the sense of I think education is very important, and also to have more people in the finance business that look like us. I think that's a major thing. Being in healthcare, one big thing is trust. Trust is so huge. That patient trusts you with their life pretty much. And almost the same thing kind of goes into finances. So going into a field that deals with um, where trust is very important, I think plays a big role. Also, with the fact of, like Nany said, there's so many things I've heard from the pediatric side. Now I'm kind of hybrid doing both adults and pediatrics. And some of the things I hear in the pharmacy or in the hospital, because as a clinical pharmacist, we're a little bit more involved in patient care, direct patient care. So some of the things that you hear, and it breaks your heart. And a lot of it had to deal with finances and people kind of being unprepared for dealing with what's next after someone passes or someone becomes disabled or whatever it may be. So that kind of drove me like, hey, I need to look into this a little bit more. So that's kind of what took me almost in the health and wealth realm of things. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. That is so fascinating. I think we as healthcare professionals, we are there to help patients get better, to heal them, to support them. But then they have these other parts of their life that so greatly impacts their overall health.
Right.
And one element is financial stress. We are in very difficult times from, going through a very crippling pandemic, coming out of that now into a recession. People are really going through inflation, job loss or, instability. So these are all the things that impact people's lives externally, but also impact their health individually, right? And families and communities. So I always like to kind of start with some statistics in regards to how like our financial state can actually impact our overall health and well-being. So in 2013, a Northwestern University study showed that adults aged 24 to 32 who had high debt had higher blood pressure. We also see higher rates of migraine headaches, up to 44% of people who reported debt stress, right? That's a new term for you, debt stress. 44% had migraines compared to 15% who didn't have that type of financial stress. 27% of those reporting high debt stress also had ulcers and GI issues compared to 8% who did not have financial issues. And then this is another statistic that really alarmed me. Due to financial strain, up to 56 million Americans have trouble paying medical bills, inhibiting them from one, seeking medical help when they need it, and also leading them to avoid medical intervention because they literally cannot afford the medical care, whether that's insurance, medications, etc. So our financial lives can actually impact us in real ways. So we threw out a few terms earlier today, and one of them is financial wellness. So how would you define financial wellness? What is that?
I'll let you go, Nany.
All right. So financial wellness is actually a state in which you can fully meet your current financial and future financial obligations, right? If you're able to pay off your mortgage or your rent and take care of your family, you can take a trip without having to think about it, take care of your family, go grocery shopping without worried about your, card, not going through, So that's what we call financial wellness, really being able to make financial decisions with ease, knowing that you're, secured. You have that financial security not only to cover today, but also in the future. And you can make choices to enjoy your life. And ultimately, that's the simplest definition of it.
Yeah. I kind of piggyback off of what Nany said. I think like just overall financial health, not having to worry about how are you going to get money to be able to finance this. A lot of people would even say increased financial wealth equals increased quality of life. So I think that financial wellness, and it can also be subjective. Some people may look at it a little different. Some people may not see, it could be being out of debt. It could be, some people could define theirs differently, but overall, financial wellness is kind of being at a financial stability and not having to worry about what's next.
Right. So, and you said something key there, that connection between our financial state and our quality of life. right? So looking at it from all elements, it's not just, oh, how much money you have in the bank, but
Right.
having that stability and that foundation gives you more options. It allows you to get the help that you need, even when it comes to, medical interventions, etc. So there is some type of connection and correlation. So how is it that, financial wellness is important to your overall health? Like, we kind of mentioned that earlier about, debt stress and how that impacts us mentally, and emotionally, how that can even impact certain decisions that we make when it comes to our health. So why is financial wellness an important thing for us to have in general or strive for?
I mean, you said it earlier that financial stress, the number one cause of stress is financial stress. And once you're financially stressed, it boils down to everything else that you do. From a clinical standpoint, we know that there are stress hormones. Like your body literally releases hormones when you're stressed, right? So cortisol, for example, which is one of the stress hormones, can increase your blood sugar. So constant release of that blood sugar, with certain lifestyle, we're heading to what diabetes, right, or other things that are going on. You also have neuroepinephrine and vasopressin, right, which are vasoconstrictors. That's when you see the high blood pressure. That's when you
Right.
see the migraine headaches, right? Because literally the stress hormones you're constantly releasing and they're making you sick. So when we talk about your finances affecting your health, there's actually a physical phenomenon happening in your body that you may not
Right.
necessarily be aware of. The result of that, for me, working as an ER provider, I literally see patients who are coming in with panic attacks, who are coming in with headaches and chest pains, and when you talk to them, it boils down to some type of financial stress that's going on. I had an example of a person who works at a bank, and every time they're counting money, they have panic attacks because they're thinking
Mhm.
about the financial stress that they have, but now they're handling money that's not really theirs, you
Right.
know. So financial stress directly affects our health. You also have some people who they're sick, they need to be treated in the hospital, they can't afford to stay in the hospital. They have to go to work
Right.
the next day. People tell me that. I'm sorry, I can't be admitted. I have to go to work the next day. Or I can't afford the medical bills. So that's the direct effect of lack of financial planning, financial instability, and security to our health. It literally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in all aspects of our life, we're affected.
Definitely. I think just to kind of hone in on the last few things that you just said, that I see a lot. You see a lot of people come in to the hospital and they really, really do need help, but they're so worried about how am I going to feed my kids? How am I going to pay this bill if I sit in the hospital? I'm the breadwinner of the house, so that alone plays into your health because you're not able to get the treatment that you need. And sometimes you want to ask them, okay, if right now you were to pass away and you're not going to be able to take care of that child, that bill is gone. You can no longer pay that bill again because you're no longer here. That financial stress will now be transferred to someone else. So it almost comes full circle. And I think it's so, so important for us to kind of get grounded when it comes to not only our finances, I mean, not only our health itself, but our finances too. Because if a lot of that does have that residual effect on your health. So,
Absolutely. And also, another thing is your immunity too
yeah.
goes down. So even if you're already sick, for someone who already is dealing with, cancer or even chronic medical issues like high blood pressure, diabetes, and now you've add financial stress to that, that's weakening your immune system even
Right.
more. And that's when you see worsening of your medical issues. So it's almost like
Yep.
a vicious
Full
cycle.
circle.
Your
Yep.
finances are affecting your health is affecting your finance, and you just go on and on and on.
Yes. And I mean, I don't want to beat this in too far, but coming from the pharmaceutical side, I think one of the biggest things people always hear, oh, big pharma, they're taking our money, this. The only reason they are taking your money is because you are giving it to them because of your health. So if
Yeah.
we can improve our health, just like you see it as a health center, they have a holistic approach to everything. You come in, you may be on 5 or 6 medications for diabetes and hypertension, but when you walk out, the whole goal is that you are no longer on those meds. So, and guess what? In turn, you're saving money. So it's a just like you said, it's a full circle. Less money out of our pocket, less stress. Hey, we're doing well.
Right. So again, taking like that holistic approach that, it's one thing to be physically well, but that also kind of intertwines with how we are doing financially as well. So what are some key things that people should first address when it comes to like financial planning? Now we've kind of, went over how, debt stress and, having a poor financial situation can affect us physically. But now, how do we really get to the foundation of what we need to do to create a solid financial plan so that we don't catch ourselves in these situations later on? So, again, understanding what is the thing that we need to first address when it comes to financial planning.
Awesome. I love that question.
Right? Favorite question.
I love that. That's a great question. And I feel like for the past 5 years, I've been obsessed with helping people build that foundation because that's what it's all about. I feel like, in my opinion, the greatest thing all of us can do for ourselves is to build a solid financial foundation. How do you build a solid financial foundation? There are actually steps to building a solid financial foundation. Just like a house, if you're building a house or anything, relationships or anything in life, if your foundation is not strong, everything is going to come crumbling, right? Same thing with our lives. We have to build it from the ground up. There are 4 steps that you take to build a strong financial foundation. The very first step into that financial planning is going to be protection, right? Especially coming from a healthcare perspective. Someone like me in the ER, I have gone past a person sitting in the room, and then 5 minutes later, we're coding that person. I'm literally doing CPR and looking in their face, and they're gone. So if you deal with that on a daily basis, you don't take life for granted. You don't take tomorrow for granted. Every day you go to bed, you wake up, you're blessed, you feel blessed, you're thankful. So that protection, especially when you're a parent, we have to make sure, and protection comes in your life, on your life. You got to protect your life in life insurance. If I die tomorrow, I want to make sure that there's income replacement for my children. I want to protect my income if I'm disabled. I get sick and I'm not able to work, and my short-term and long-term disabilities are not what I thought they were going to be. And a lot of time that big surprise happens once you in the position, then you realize, oh wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be. You want to be able to protect your income. You want to be able to protect your assets. If I'm gone today, my bank accounts, my assets that I have, are these going to go to my family, or are they going to be tied up in estate issues and probate and to lawyers and the courts, right? So protection is the number one. Then number 2 is going to be debt management. Debt is killing people, right? The stress. And first of all, a large portion of many people's income is going into interest. So when you really sit down and you look at how much interest you're paying to somebody else, you try to get out of debt as much as you can. And then the stress that comes with that. If you're in debt, you don't have the luxury to be, I got to go to work today. I can't go to work today. You have to go to work because you have those liabilities. So learning to reduce our liabilities and getting rid of so much interest that you pay to somebody else so that you can keep that money to yourself, right? Then the next step is going to be building an emergency fund. Why an emergency fund? If you lose your job, we all saw what COVID did, right? A lot of people will say, healthcare, your job is secure. But some people in healthcare actually had issues with their income, right? Let alone other sectors. So COVID was the perfect example of why we need to have an emergency fund, at least 3 to 6 months of your income, so that if there's an emergency, you have raining day money and you're not out, anxious again and stressed about money. Then eventually investments. Investments are where, you're going to grow, you're going to, invest that retirement nest egg so that you can have enough money and retire with dignity and have your golden years. I had a patient say, I want to know what's golden about the golden years. Well, golden years can be golden if you plan properly, but they can also be very rough if you don't plan properly. And we see that all the time in healthcare, where people are outliving their families, they're outliving their retirement funds, and basically they become a burden. So those are the 4 steps. Those are the key steps to take to build a strong financial foundation. And Ijeoma, I'll let you add on to that.
Yeah, let's say let me give you an example. Let's say you buy your car, right? You just bought I'm going to aim high. You just bought a brand new Maybach, and you were like, "Hey, I want to, custom make this vehicle. I want to add my emblem with my initials on it on the seats. You want to really really go far and, deck this car out, and you do so much to it. You build it, you do everything to it, but you didn't get insurance on it. I know car insurance is required, but let's say it wasn't, and you don't get insurance on it, and you built this massive, beautiful, beautiful vehicle, but a little, let's say Toyota Corolla comes and just careens into you. And now you have this beautiful car that you built and you had absolutely no protection on it. So what happened? Everything that you have worked so hard for literally is gone. So let's compare yourself to this car. You have worked so hard to be the person that you are. You spent so much money to build that brain of yours in college. You've built this lifestyle for yourself, whether it be through homes or with little assets here or there, liability. People build liabilities too. And now you have all these things, and there's no way to continue it because you didn't get life insurance. You did not do something to protect the vessel that you had that created all these things. So definitely you have to build your foundation from the ground up. First of all, protection. As Nany said, protection, debt management, your emergency fund, and finally investments. I see so many times when I talk to friends prior to me even getting licensed, I would hear all the time, I have so many investments, I have so many, I do this, I do that, I do that. So it almost makes you like, well, dang, I wish I could do that too. But then again, you ask them, do they have life insurance or do they have an emergency fund? Nope. Not at all. If their car broke down right now and it happened to be a $2,000 transmission repair, they would have to go into this investment and start transferring money and start, finagling things instead of so with all that, you don't have the liquid cash in order to pay for the vehicle. So what does that cost? Time is money. So now maybe you can't get to work or you're never having to spend more money to now get a rental car. I mean, it plays well into it. You have to have that structure in order to get where you want to go. You have to build your house from the ground up. We don't put the roof on first. So definitely have to have that plan in place.
Right. And it seems like having that plan, you don't necessarily want parts missing, right? For instance, you have the investments, but not the insurance. And, you have the insurance, but not the emergency fund. It's just like you really need these foundational blocks in completion to really secure yourself financially. So say now we have our essentials of financials, our essential financial foundation in place. So what is next? When you go in with a client, you're letting them know, okay, we need to have these things in place. They follow your lead. So then what is next? What are the next steps? What do we do with that?
So the next step is really consistency, right? And discipline. You and I can have a great session and I could tell you all you need to do. Then 3 months later, you're back to your old ways, right? So first what we do, it's a holistic approach. I always use the example of, me in the ER. If you came in and say, Nany, my belly hurts, I have to examine your belly. I have to do labs. I have to do maybe a CT or image, some type of imaging before we can diagnose and prescribe anything, right? So same thing with your finances. We have to do a personal financial strategy. All of us have different insurable needs. All of us have different investment needs based on our family structures, our income, and our goals for the future. So first, we
Exactly.
start with that personal financial strategy. It's like a GPS. It gives you a roadmap of what you need to do for your future. For me, for example, 5 years ago when that was done for me, I was able to see how much I needed, what my insurable need was, right? And I became a goal to attain that. I learned how much my investment need was. Before I retire, I needed 20 times my income. So then it became a goal to attain that. So once you know what your goals are, then the discipline and consistency comes in, right? You have to know what you're doing. When you know where you're going, you'll know what to do as far as your financial, your spending habits and the way you certain decisions that you take. So the next level is after we talk about it, after you know what you need to do. Generally, someone told me once, as adults, you can't unlearn things. Once you know, you know. You may choose to ignore, but you can unlearn it. So if you know that you need an emergency fund of 20,000 and you're still blowing your money on things that don't matter and you don't have an emergency fund, then you need to have more meetings and more reminders and attend more financial workshops. But I do think for many of us, when we know what to do, we tend to stick to the plan because we know how important these things are, especially on our health and our overall financial, on our family structures. So the next level will be just being consistent and disciplined and accomplishing our goals once you know what those goals are.
Right. Once your foundation has been built and um, know exactly where things are supposed to be in place. You know where your income is, so you know what you need for retirement. You know how much you need to be putting to the side. Then we can start building a foundation. I mean, we can start executing your goals. So just like Nani said, like you have to be disciplined. First and foremost, though, you have to believe that you can do it. I think that's one thing. It's almost like someone who wants to lose weight. If you don't believe that you are even overweight in the first place, you're not going to have any drive to try to change that. Sometimes I always tell people they think they got it together. And just like I did, I thought I had it all together. And then when, I was approached and I did my plan, I was like, "Ooh, I actually don't." Yeah, I had it. I thought I had it together, but my money wasn't placed in the right places. So we may think that it's something that may not be unattainable, but it's very much so attainable as long as you believe in yourself. You discipline yourself once you start your plan and you stay consistent. And I mean, that's with anything you do in life. Anytime you set a goal, though, if you look at those strategies, believing in yourself and disciplining yourself to attain it and being consistent, you will definitely get to where you want to be.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I think a lot of people get very intimidated about the idea of financial planning. There's this idea that you have to have like all this money to really need a financial planner. Like, if you're not making a whole lot of money, there's no point, because do you even have money to spare to put money aside in investment or put money into insurance and all those things? So there may be individuals who are maybe lower income or may not really have a lot, may even feel embarrassed to present their financial situation to a I think we lost Ijeoma. Maybe embarrassed about their financial situation and feel some level of anxiety even coming to a professional. So can someone is it possible to, and it's kind of a weird way to ask this, but is it possible to be too poor to invest or not have enough to invest? Say if you're, sitting down with someone who, averages maybe 30,000 a year, or minimum wage income. I mean, what can you do for them? Is it something that they can, that they can still create a financial plan despite low income?
That's an excellent question. And as we always say, it's not about how much you make, but how much you keep. You'll be surprised at some high income earners that we have, people who are earning high six figures, but still have financial issues, you know? So I don't necessarily think that the income reflects on your need for financial planning. It's more your habits. It's all about your habits with your money. So everybody deserves financial education to begin with. Can somebody be too poor to invest? Perhaps at the beginning. There are times where, like when I do a personal financial strategy, and this person literally is spending more than they earn, right? That moment is not the time to lock that person into any type of insurance policy or any type of investment because they can't afford it. They're barely making the ends meet, right?
Yeah.
Someone like that, if you lock them into products, you're just wasting their money because they can't keep up the contributions and eventually those accounts will lapse. Well, my recommendation is to those people is there are two ways to really create that financial nest egg for yourself. You got to increase your cash flow. And you increase your cash flow in two ways. You either make more money or you cut back on your spending. Someone who's already making low income, there's really not a whole lot to cut back on. So then you increase your cash flow. Uh, you know, uh, I personally advocate for maybe starting a side hustle because if you have to go back and do a full time job and two full time jobs, that means more time away from your family and you're stressed out and so many other things that come with that. But if you're not earning enough money, you have to find ways to earn enough money. And then eventually, once you do that, you're never too poor for financial education. So the best time for you is right now, learning what to do, things that are available for you. Then when the money comes in, you execute what you've already learned. But you never wait and say, oh, when I have enough money. A lot of time you'll realize that you're never gonna have enough money because what happens? More money, more liabilities. More money, more liabilities. So every time your income goes up, your bills goes up because your lifestyle tend to change. So the first step is going to be educating yourself and things that are out there. Don't be intimidated. Don't be afraid to speak to someone and get help. Even if you're not able to put things into place at that moment, but you know what to do. And when the right time comes, and they'll give you different suggestions on things you can do, and then eventually you do the right thing for your family.
Right. Yep. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Ijeoma.
I had some technical difficulties. You guys lost me. But I think that's great. I can't tell you how many times I actually do get that question. And then again, too, I'm always like, the label poor is also, objective or subjective to that individual too. So I look at everything. I've had someone where they say they spend, this amount of money eating out. Someone's like, I have to buy, a pair of shoes every month. I have to do this. And that's where that discipline comes in. You're really not poor. You're just, you're putting your money into things that are not going to build for you. They're not they're tangible things. It takes discipline because if you've put yourself in a certain lifestyle already and you try to maintain that lifestyle, that's where that difficulty can come in. So I mean, how many times I might be like, oh, I'm broke because maybe my one of my accounts that I usually pay my bills only has $200 in it, or I'm just like, oh, I'm broke, knowing that I literally have, X amount of thousands sitting in my savings account as my emergency fund. So we say that a lot. It's because I am super disciplined. I am disciplined. I said, okay, Jama, you decided to spend money on this. So now you can't get this because of that. So I think it's people do, if they're not ready at that moment per se, I think it's I still keep in contact with those people. I don't push them away because who doesn't want to eventually get to financial freedom? It does still take them to believe in themselves and that discipline. So, yeah, definitely once you're ready, then I think that's the best time to execute it.
Absolutely. And Joe, you said something funny that I do too.
Mhm,
Because of that discipline, it's almost like I play a game to myself.
mhm,
Where I'll have certain amount of a budget for
right.
things, and
Yeah.
that's the money I have, and then I'll be
Mhm.
so broke, and I'm like, damn. because
Exactly.
that was like a financial diet. And
Yep.
so literally when I
Yep.
say I don't have money, I mean it, because I have put myself in this little box, and
Yep.
until that phase is over, I'm not
Right.
going back to touch anything else, because that's where
Right.
that discipline comes in. But if
Yep.
you don't create that discipline for yourself, you're just going to keep spending, spending, spending. And then
Exactly.
at the end of the day, you don't really have anything to show for it.
Right. And I just, it's funny because I literally had a conversation with a woman the other day, and um, this kind of ties back into the health portion, because mental health also can kind of play into the way people feel about their finances or
Mm.
things that actually gratify them at that moment. I think, especially in this new generation, they like self gratification, like now, like instant self gratification now. So they'll say stuff like, I don't want to be 65 before I go on that vacation, or I don't want to be 65 before I buy that, Louis Vuitton bag or that Birkin bag, or I want to have it now. So a lot of people erase the fact, especially the younger generation right now, and they erase the fact of where they could be and what they could get to. You can still earn those things now. Just like Nani said, there's so many. I mean, I'm somehow even jealous of some of the things, that opportunities that the younger generations have now, with making money. Um, that it's ridiculous. So I'm always telling people, like, find ways. When I started my hair business, 14 years ago, I had no idea I was going to be, where I am today with that business. Had no clue. I just was doing something I loved that happened to be making me money. So I always tell people, look for opportunities. Look for don't sit stagnant. You'll see all these, celebrities buying this, buying that. We need to get away from trying to compare ourselves and look at our own personal situations and find ways to develop ourselves financially so that we will be healthy mentally wise.
I absolutely agree with that. I mean,
Mhm.
when we talk about having money problems, there are solutions to that. You just have
Yeah.
to make more money.
Yeah.
People who have money don't have money problems. They may have other problems, but they don't have money problems.
Right.
So, a lot of people say, especially our generation, well, I don't want to say, like you said, they don't want to wait until the golden years to enjoy their money. Well, you can still do everything you want to do now, but also you have to identify between
Right.
your wants and your need. You
Right.
can't neglect your need and the future because of what you want. That's almost irresponsible, especially when you have kids and emergencies happen. I mean, imagine you're the one with the hottest gadgets, and you have this persona of
Yeah.
doing well, but then God
Right.
forbid your income stops, and now you depend on other people to take care of you. Like, you don't want that false
Yeah.
policy. You don't want to live that fake life. You want to build a strong financial foundation. Live it up if that's how you want to roll.
Right.
But as you live it up, also make sure your foundation is strong at the same.
Yeah,
Right.
that is so essential. I've actually been kind of taking notes on what both of you have been saying, because it
Mhm.
is true. When we kind of reflect on our own, like, personal spending habits and saving habits, and are we acting out almost emotionally when it comes to money? And you
Yep.
can even make an analogy with that, and like how we diet with food or
Right.
exercise, and how we take care of our bodies. Are we taking care of our bank accounts the same way?
Right.
um, so I heard, once you got the plan together, or getting that plan together, it's about being consistent, it's about discipline, and
Mhm.
apparently it's about finding a side hustle too. So if you need to make a little bit more cash, then make it
Mhm.
happen. But certainly, really just getting to the gist of it, that you don't necessarily need to be a millionaire or
Right.
have all this extra money and income in order to create a financial plan. And like you said, Nany, you're never too poor, quote unquote, to get a financial education, to learn the
Right.
essentials of what it takes to be financially free.
Mhm.
Now, Ijeoma, you mentioned the word financial freedom. So,
Mhm.
we're talking a lot. We've talked about debt stress. We've talked about financial wellness. What is this thing about financial freedom? What does that exactly mean?
So, I guess you could say there's like textbook definition of financial freedom. I think that also, because some people call it financial independence also, I think that can also be based on your own personal goals, because what Nani may want may not be the same thing that I want as far as financial freedom. So that could also be based off of that. But to me, my personal definition, and kind of probably does tie into the definition that you probably could Google or find online, is more so having, I'm not having to work paycheck to paycheck to survive. I have enough money, I have enough sufficient money in order to be able to provide my living expenses, sorry, and to be able to make ends meet without having to, oh, I got to get money from here. I got to get money from here. Your mind is free. That financial wellness comes into financial freedom. You're not, you've set yourself up um, for not having to figure out ways of where you're going to pay for certain things. Just like freedom is the I guess the lack of bondage. Sometimes your finances bond you. You know, you become a slave to your job. You become a slave to your bills. You know, freeing yourself from that slavery, from that bondage, to me is what I would call financial freedom or financial independence.
Right, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. One of my favorite quote is, "You can never be free until you're financially free."
Right.
And that, to me, every time I hear that, it hits home.
Right.
Just you get in the career path you want, being home to raise your kids and still be able to not worry about money, uh, making your own schedule. I want to work these
Right.
days. I want to work these days.
Right.
I'm going to travel, just pick up my kids and go. That to me is freedom. That's financial freedom, in having enough cash, enough savings where money is not an issue. You can do things that you want to do for your life. And all of us, like Ijeoma said, has a different definition of what financial freedom is. But not having to depend on somebody else for money,
Right.
to me is my definition of financial freedom.
Absolutely. And it's a good place to be in.
Oh
And
yeah.
the way I see it is having money does give you some level of a higher quality of life. But to me, I feel like it gives you freedom and options.
Yeah.
You have more options when you are financially stable and when you've acquired that level of financial freedom. So it is something to strive for. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily all about the material things and being flashy and trying to be rich and
Right.
wealthy, but literally just you now have more options.
Yep.
So I get that. So we've talked about all these vehicles and essentials to like having a solid financial plan. And one thing that has been mentioned is the importance of having insurance. So there's various types of insurance, right? So specifically, what type of insurance and well, let me ask you this. How does life insurance in particular fall into the importance of this financial planning element? And I think we've mentioned earlier about, God forbid, if something happens to you, you don't want to put a financial burden on your on other family members, right? So I'm understanding that there is a life insurance that serves for that purpose, but there's other types of life insurance that can actually be used as an insurance. I'm sorry, as an investment vehicle. Is that correct? So kind of getting an understanding of how insurance can actually support achieving your financial freedom.
Another excellent question. I love this conversation because it really is needed in our community. Ijeoma, you want me to start with that? And
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So first, I want to start by again giving our disclaimer. What we're discussing here today is for educational purposes only. We're not giving any advice. If you want to talk to us in private, you can follow up, and then we can, kind of have a private conversation. That's a great question. Well, let's talk about insurance in general. Earlier, we talked about the financial foundation, right? The very first building block of your financial foundation is going to be your protection. The reason for that is if I don't wake up tomorrow morning, my income is what runs my household, is what takes care of my three children. So if that income is not replaced, guess what's going to happen? I've left a financial burden for people to take care of, right? That's why that insurance is the number one foundation. Now, there are so many different types of insurance policies. All insurance policies are not created equal, and that's where the education comes in. The best insurance for me, in my opinion, is the one that is in place. What? When you need it, right? I can dress up insurance policies all I want, but if I don't have it when I die, then there was no point, right? So the best insurance will be the one that you can afford and that is suitable for you. There's no one size fit all. There is actually an insurable need that all of us have. My insurable need is different from your insurable need. How do you calculate someone's insurable need? There are four things again. It's called the DIME method, DIME. They're debt. Just because I'm dead doesn't mean my liabilities are gone. Whoever inherits my assets will also inherit my liabilities. You know,
Right.
my income, 10 times my income at a minimum. My last child is 6 years old now. God forbid I die today. In 10 years, she's only 16. So the recommendation is to have at least 10 times my income, more if I can, but at least that if I can afford it. Then the balance on my mortgage. I've seen a lot of families who have to lose the home when the primary breadwinner dies. Their kids are back in either an apartment or living with a family member because there was no provision to continue paying for the mortgage, right? And then education for my kids. Just because I'm gone, I still want my kids to go to school. So those are the things that you factor in to even see how much you need in coverage. Now, based on your need and your income, you can find what is suitable and affordable for you. There are two general types of policies. You're going to have term policies that have a term, either 10-year term, 5-year term, 15-year term, 20, 30-year term. Some are increasing as you get older. Then you have permanent policies. The permanent policies, if you fund them well, do not expire. And in those permanent policies, you build in cash value as well. Now, back in the day, just like your phone, right? We just used to make phone calls with the phone. But nowadays, with your iPhone, you can do a whole lot of things, right? So, financial institutions have found a way to give us more benefits in those cash values. You can now have
Right.
flexible payments where you're contributing more to your life insurance policy. Part of it goes to the life insurance, and then part is going into an account where you're earning interest. Some people call it infinite banking. Some people call it cash value life insurance. Some people call it index universal life insurance. So many different names and so many different companies have them. Again, we're not pushing any one company. The best policy for you is going to be specific to your situation. That's
Right.
why it's good to sit with someone, do a personal financial strategy, see what's the best thing based on your financial state at that time. I have both. I have the one with the cash value for supplemental, retirement fund. It's tax free. Things that are, if you fund it properly and you stay within the guidelines of the IRS, then you have tax benefits. You also have market protection. So when the markets are down, your money is protected. I also have term products. So it just really depends on what's suitable and affordable for you, as far as what's the best life insurance for you. They're not all created the same way. Uh, so yeah.
So Nani said it all. Just like she said, there's different types of policies, and it's good to go and settle on one that fits your financial need and your plans. Also, to kind of stamp this in, and it's more so personal, but I'm sure that many people may agree. I think financial literacy is absolutely important. I think it's a non-negotiable type thing. It needs to be taught everywhere. But I think one of the things that it's lacking is the execution of the knowledge that you learn. It's good to know it, but if you don't really execute, it kind of won't take you anywhere. It's good to know how you're spending your money, where your money is going. When you sign up for an insurance policy with your job, and you quit or they fire you, what's happening to that insurance policy? How many days do you have before, okay, I'm no longer at this job, but hey, I can still get this life insurance. How many days do you have to do that? That's part of the education. You do have a few days that you can go to your employer and say, hey, I want to continue my life insurance plan. Do many people know that? No. So that's where the financial education comes in, especially when it comes to insurance policies. Like she said, there's many different ones. Depends on what you're looking for, what's going to fit your lifestyle, what your needs mainly. And if you're willing to be disciplined enough to, just like Nani said, some of those life insurances, you have to fund them in order to see some type of growth. It's almost like, investing in the stock market. If you put $2 in, unless you're doing crypto and it was worth 0.000002 cents, will you really see a gain if there's a jump? So that's very important. And one thing I want to push in there is do it while you're young. I can't stress that enough. I wish I could go back to my 20s or and say, get that life insurance policy. Lucky enough, I was financially educated at that time, and I was able to get a permanent life insurance policy at a younger age. So it's not costing me much to have it. The older you get, of course, with any insurance policy, whether it be or a temporary policy like a term, or a permanent policy, like you see with your index universal life insurance policies or your whole life policies, you have to make sure that you know which direction you're going in with either one. But it's important that you get something that is for your future. A lot of people are very ignorant of life insurance policies because, especially the younger generation, they're like, I'm young, like I shouldn't be thinking about death right now. And it's sad, and I just was talking to a friend recently, and I was almost in tears at looking at a lot of the people that I've seen that have died recently. A lot of them were very, very young. And my mind, of course, goes to the emotional damage that happens to the families. But what of the children that are affected? The young people who, I'm seeing women die of breast cancer and of diseases that, were not uncontrollable to them, and they're leaving behind these children. And not only the emotional burden, but also the financial burden that now the family has to deal with. Do we want that to happen? Of course not. We can't predict what our health is going to be like. I worked in pediatrics for so many years. How do we know that a 9-month-old is going to get leukemia? How do we know that this 17-year-old is going to get this or or that? And the financial burden that was already put on the families. Some people don't get life insurance on their kids because they're like their kids. And if they did, that financial burden they had with all those hospital bills could have been paid off. So my biggest thing is get educated, and start young. Start young. I can't stress that enough. Start young. Get educated early. I wish I could take this information to universities across the nation, which is kind of already happening. With various companies, but it's so important. It's so important. They teach so many other things in schools, from sex education to home economics. I've even seen now they're teaching like how to be a parent in some high schools, and I'm like, what about financial freedom? What about financial literacy? Why are we there's such a gap in that? I kind of do know why, but um, that's so important. If you have teenagers, if you have young kids, teach them now. Teach them now. So getting that and getting those life insurance policies at a younger age, I mean, you can't beat that. You cannot beat that.
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on what you said, I mean, just insurance alone and all the things that go into it is a whole another podcast in itself.
Right, right.
Because there's so much to
So
say,
much.
so much to say about it. But one big thing that people also, I guess, dismiss or not aware of, it's a privilege. having life insurance is a privilege. You have to undergo, underwriting. They're looking at your medical records. They're looking at your risk factors. So many things go into making a decision. So while we're sitting over here, number one, either afraid of death, just because people don't want to die, they don't want to talk about insurance. You may not even be insurable. Or the longer you wait, the more expensive it becomes for you. So to your point, the best time to get it is to get it early. And as soon as I saw the importance of this, my last child was 1 year old at the time, and all my kids were covered immediately. So there's no age limit. As long as that child has their social security number, they can be insured.
Yep.
And also, you can also use these investment insurance vessels as future college funding plans as well. Just like we were talking about earlier, policies have evolved. You get tax benefits. You can do more with your life insurance policy. Just it's not just about dying anymore. You can use that and take advantage, just like many generations have done. I've heard a quote that really hit home, where it says, "When a black man dies, 5 children become orphans. When a white man dies, 5 children become millionaires." This is not general or specific. There are some black people who are financially educated and they do leave a legacy, and there are some white people who don't plan. So this is not general, but for the majority, I know in my personal family, we did not have that generational wealth passed on. And for many families that I know, that generational wealth has not been passed on, and many people are using life insurance to do that for themselves and for their children. And also the living benefits of insurance policies is also another great benefit. Those living benefits, while you're still alive, you have access to your life insurance money to pay your medical bills, to do so many different things. All of those things people need education on. So a lot of things to say about life insurance policies. But I would say the main thing is get yourself educated, find out the best thing for you, the suitable one, and the one that you can afford. But it's not it's not something that you want to procrastinate. You want to get as much as you can while you can, when you're young and you can afford it. That's the best time for you to get it.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Wow, there's so much wealth of knowledge, pun intended, that you both of you have provided. I think certainly we can go on forever talking about just the importance of having a financial plan and really making it simple. It doesn't have to be anything, super complicated or, just kind of beyond your understanding. It's all about kind of getting down to the basics. Protecting yourself. You are the number one asset, right? Having a plan in place, having those building blocks to your financial future in place, and with the ultimate goal being, financial freedom, which we've talked about before, achieving financial wellness to ultimately have financial freedom. So I think what is going to be important is getting in front of a professional and getting the guidance that is needed. Like you mentioned, there's not a lot of financial education in schools. There's not, unless your parents are, intentionally giving you guidance. We kind of just figure it out along the way. And a lot of times people kind of wait until it's too late to even pay attention to their financial wellness. So how does one even, for instance, you two are both in the medical field. You've also entered the financial world. You know both elements of how both worlds even interplay. How can individuals maybe sit down with one of you or find a professional that they are comfortable with to really get started on their financial plan and put these things in place? How does one even choose a financial specialist or advisor or professional to help them get started?
Okay. Well, my take on that is you always want to look at your finances in a holistic way, just like we do in healthcare, right? It's a holistic approach. There are so many financial advices and recommendations and stuff out there. Number one, you want to start out with someone who's licensed. That way, you're getting knowledge that is actually coming from a source of some type of regulated source, right? Because with our
Mhm.
licenses, we're very, the financial industry is very regulated. You can't just jump into different things. You have to stay in your lane when it comes to finances. But I would say a good place to start for our listeners would definitely be Ijeoma and I, because for both of us, this is a second career. And our intention for this was not primarily for the money. We saw a need based
Right.
on our experiences in healthcare, based on our personal experiences. And now we're out in the community to educate and offer solutions with our licenses. So
Right.
if I was to pick out a best, perhaps I'm biased, but if I was to pick out a best financial specialist to
Yeah.
start with, it would be someone like us, because our intention is genuinely to help the community get educated, and then with our licenses, we can help you with what you need done, right? And then within that, for example, that personal financial strategy, once you see where you are, whatever licenses we don't have to do, we can then recommend refer you out, or at least you'll
Right.
know who else you need to go to for X, Y, and Z. There are multiple different branches in the financial industry, different licenses that have to be obtained. So a good space will be sit with who you trust first, try to get a general education on things, see where you are, do a financial needs analysis, look at what your assets are, what your liabilities are, and then whatever else you need in between that, the services that you need, you can get guidance in that accordingly.
Wonderful.
Yep, exactly what Nani said. I think the first thing is make sure you're getting advice from a licensed professional, first of all. And I think that's very important because, this business is something that's held with high esteem in the sense of we literally pay liability insurance also because it is such a volatile type of business. So I think, first of all, make sure the person is licensed, whoever you go to. As Nani said, of course, we are a good start. This is a second career for both of us, so our intentions are more so educational. I can tell you now that, of course, in every business or in every profession, you are going to have those people whose intentions are different, and I mean, there's pharmacists that are, you can Google it, whose intentions were to be malicious or just to gain money. And just like Nani said, like we're very honest, and our education doesn't cost you a thing. If you come to us and crack our brains, you know. We will give it. Will give you just the same knowledge that we're able to share with you here today. Sometimes I will say, I have a good friend that calls me sometimes, or she texts me and she'll say, "Hey, Jama, I have this, or, I need advice on this and this." And I just remember her making a comment on a post, and it was one of our close friends, and she's a lawyer, and we know that lawyers, that when you seek their advice, it's not free. At all. And I'm just like, and I made a comment on the post and I was like, woo, I would be a trillionaire if I charged for all the knowledge that I gave out as a pharmacist and all the recommendations I've given out over the years. I'd literally be a trillionaire. But I think I've found a passion in my financial, the financial literacy of others. It turns on a light bulb in their head, and they're just happier. They're just happier when they have things together. So that's been a passion of mine. I'm elated that I came into this profession also. So yeah, any advice you need, feel free to contact us. We'll include, I guess, our emails in the chat, and feel free to contact us at any time.
Right, right. And that actually leads me to what I was going to say next, which is how can people get in touch with you? You both of you shared a great amount of knowledge, and there's so much more, right? Of course, everyone has their own individual financial profile, so it's best to speak one-on-one with a professional. Everyone has different situations, different liabilities, different levels of insurance that they need. So it's so important to actually sit down one-on-one with the professional. And I'm sure there's those who are listening in this audience who would want to sit down with either of you to talk about getting a financial plan together. So if each of you can just share how anyone in our audience or anyone who is watching this on a replay can contact you, go ahead and share that with the audience. And we'll also have that typed into the chat as well for those who do replay this later. So Nany, if you can share if you have also any final thoughts or insights or words of knowledge, and then please provide your contact information so people know how to get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I want to thank you for this platform. Great discussion. Both of you. I think what we do is life-changing. We save lives in healthcare, and also what we're doing right now is literally saving lives as far as the financial discussion is concerned, because many people will hear this and hopefully it will trigger something in them where they'll start planning for their finances and start getting things into place. My parting words would be educate yourself financially. What you don't know can hurt you, and all of us have experienced that. Ijeoma said earlier, there's a light bulb that goes in your mind, and that's exactly what happened to me when someone sat me down and educated me, and it was like, wow, oh my God, I have so many aha moments. And that's when I thought to myself, if I don't know this, a lot of people around me don't know it either. And it angers me that we can do it, we just don't have the knowledge.
Right.
If you taught me how to invest for my kids for their future so they don't have student loan debt, I can do that. But if I don't have the knowledge on what to do, I can't do anything. If you tell me not to just put all my money sitting in where I'm just getting 1% or not even 1%, and I can earn so much more, I could do that. But if I don't have the knowledge, so I would say financial education. We're actually part of a financial literacy campaign. There are workshops and different things. So you can contact either one of us. We'll guide you towards those things to educate yourself. We can guide you to the knowledge that we know. But I invite you guys to start working on your financial foundation. Be honest with yourself. Have that personal financial strategy. No matter how bad you think it looks, denial is a river. You should not be in denial about your finances, about your health, just like in healthcare, right? The moment you're in denial, now you're letting that healthcare issue get worse and worse and worse, and it's not going to go anywhere. So same thing with your finances. Don't be in denial. Be honest with yourself. We are bound to privacy. So if you sit with a financial provider who is a financial professional who is licensed, your privacy is paramount. For many of us, since we were babies, HIPAA has been drilled into us in healthcare. So your privacy is always going to be number one. There's no judgment, but at least know where you are so that you can build that financial foundation. Your financial foundation as far as your protection, getting out of debt, reducing your liabilities, emergency fund, and then eventually learning about your investment options will be my biggest recommendation. For me, it gives you peace of mind. It has given me peace of mind. No matter what comes through my life, knowing that at least I have a strong financial foundation, that at least that part of my life I feel is on track, so everything else I can manage. But the worst thing that can happen to you is having other things come at you in life in addition to financial trouble as well. So try to build that financial foundation for yourself. Be disciplined, be consistent, and strive for financial freedom. Our contact information, I was trying to put some stuff in the chat, but I am not technically savvy. So I'm just going to text them. We'll add them later. But my phone number is 301-275-7274, 301-275-7274. My email is healthandwealthwithnany@gmail.com. I'll also put my website in the chat later on as well. I am RSSA, which stands for Registered Social Security Analyst. So I do help people with Social Security analysis to make sure that they're getting they know the right claiming strategies so that they can optimize and maximize their retirement benefits. So make sure the website is there. You can actually make an appointment on that website, and we can help you with everything else that we talked about as well.
Yep. I think Nani hit it on the head. Just like we said before, let's have a goal of financial freedom. Let's set that as our goal. Number one, believe in yourself, believe that you can do it. Finances is not an easy task to tackle, but we're here to help you to make that task easier. Just like she said, everything is private. We are bound by our licenses. Like she said, we HIPAA's been drilled into our heads since we were younger, so it's almost like the HIPAA of finance. So believe in yourself, stay disciplined, and be consistent. I think that's the things that I would say take away from this, and start as young as you can. And if you are older, don't worry. There's a lot of other, there's some more things that we could talk about with that also. So don't feel stressed with that. But those people that are younger, take the bull by the horn. Especially in this society right now, find recession-proof ways to earn money, find ways to create that financial freedom, so you're not having to live paycheck to paycheck, and be reliant on someone else for your finances. The best way to reach me is through my email. Hopefully this will be easy. Financial solutions with Ijeoma at Gmail. I try my best to answer your emails as soon as possible. Like Nani said, we still do our professions. Also, we still love being, a physician associate and also a clinical pharmacist. So I still do work. I do try to have at least a 24 to 48-hour turnaround in response to your email to set up an appointment with you. Don't feel like you're bothering us. I think this is like my fun time. This is my fun time to see other people happy. I've helped so many other people in their financial realms. I've given so much advice to people, and this is a passion of mine to try to get the word out there. Because at the end of the day, money is what makes the world go round. So having a focus on that and choosing this new career path for myself and educating myself. I've started off with education. From education, I said, hey, I need to help other people because I know what it's done for me. And I love to see people smile, I love to see people happy. If you notice, I smile throughout the whole presentation. I love to see that in other people. So please reach out to me. Don't hesitate. Again, financial solutions with Ijeoma at gmail.com. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank
Again,
you so much. Thank you so much, ladies. This was great. I myself have had some financial literacy for some time, but every time I, engage in these conversations, I always learn something more and get a little bit more insight. So I definitely appreciate your participation tonight. For our audience members who are tuning in, thank you for listening. Hopefully, you gained a little bit of insight and knowledge with what was shared tonight. We are talking health and wealth, the importance of financial wellness. Please, please, please put a plan together. Reach out to one of these young ladies to help you get started with your financial plan. We will have their contact information in the chat menu. If you have anyone in your life that needs to hear some of these words, this video will be available for replay. So you can share the link with family, with friends, with individuals that you feel could really benefit from the knowledge that was shared tonight, and may need to get a financial plan together. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. We are going to wrap this up. Thank you, Ijeoma and Nany. Maybe we'll even have a part 2 to this. So we'll see. Okay. So definitely hang on, you two. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Have a great evening.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
And take action. They say education without action is just information.
Information, yep.
We want to educate you, so take action upon what you've received tonight. Thank you so much for coming.
Right. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much for your attendance.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.